English Listening Stories. Level B2. A Letter He Never Sent. Episode 1. 3 Seconds Too Late. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, tucked between unpaid bills and grocery ads. No return address, just her name, handwritten. Emma almost threw it away. She stood in her small kitchen, coffee growing cold in her hands, staring at the envelope as if it could breathe. Something about it felt heavy, familiar, dangerous. She opened it. Inside was a single page. If you're reading this, it means I waited too long. Her breath caught. She hadn't heard that voice in years, yet she could hear it clearly in her mind. Calm, careful, always holding something back. Liam. Her fingers trembled as she read on. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to remember me the way I remember you. I only need you to know one thing. I loved you quietly. Completely. And I never stopped. Emma sat down slowly. Outside, the city moved as always. Cars, voices, life. But inside her chest, time folded. She remembered the silence between them, the things he never said, the way he always looked at her like he was afraid of breaking something sacred. And suddenly she understood. This letter wasn't an apology. It was a confession that had waited years to be born. And it had arrived 3 seconds too late, because her phone began to ring. Episode 2, The Kind of Love That Waits. Emma didn't answer the phone. She couldn't. Her eyes stayed on the words, reading them again and again, as if meaning would change. Liam had never been loud, never dramatic. While others spoke easily about feelings, he chose silence. Not because he felt less, but because he felt too much. They had met at work years ago. Long evenings, shared projects, quiet jokes whispered during meetings. He always noticed when she was tired, always remembered how she took her tea. But when she waited for him to say something, anything, he never did. And eventually she left. The letter continued. I thought love was something you protect by hiding it. I was wrong. Love needs courage, and I had none. Emma closed her eyes. She had married someone else, built a life that looked stable from the outside, but stability isn't the same as peace. She had often wondered, what if? The letter answered softly. I don't ask you to come back. I only ask you to know the truth, that someone chose you every day, even in silence. Tears fell, not from pain but recognition. This wasn't a love that demanded. It was a love that waited, and waited, and waited. Episode 3, When Silence Speaks. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. The letter lay beside her bed like a living thing. She remembered moments she had dismissed. The way Liam stepped back so others could step forward. The way he listened as if her words mattered more than his own life. She had mistaken his restraint for indifference. How many loves are lost that way? The letter's final lines echoed in her mind. If our paths never cross again, I will still be grateful. Some loves are not meant to be lived, only honored. Emma sat up. Was that true? Was love something you simply accept and lock away? Or was it a responsibility, once known impossible to ignore? She checked the date on the letter. Written 3 months ago. Her heart raced. Why now? Why today? She picked up her phone and typed his name into the search bar. Her fingers paused. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. But some doors were never meant to stay shut. She pressed search. Episode 4, The Distance Between Two Lives. Liam lived 2 cities away. The information was simple. The weight of it was not. Emma spent the next days moving through life as if underwater. Smiling when required, speaking when necessary. But inside, something had shifted. She didn't want to destroy anything. She didn't want drama or regret. She wanted clarity, the kind that only honesty brings. She wrote a message. I received your letter. She stared at it for a long time, then added, I think we should talk. He replied hours later. Only if it brings you peace. That was Liam. Always careful, always protecting. They agreed to meet in a small cafe halfway between their cities. Neutral ground, safe, honest. Emma arrived early. Her hands shook slightly as she wrapped them around her cup. When he walked in, time did that strange thing again. He looked older, quieter, but his eyes, they still held that same calm depth. They didn't hug. They didn't rush. They just sat and smiled. Episode 5, Words That Were Never Spoken. I never wanted to disturb your life, Liam said softly. Emma nodded. I never knew there was something to disturb. Silence settled between them, not awkward but full. He looked down at his hands. I thought loving you meant staying out of your way. She inhaled slowly. And I thought you never cared enough to stay. The truth hung there, simple, painful, clean. No anger, no blame, just understanding arriving late. They spoke for hours, about choices, about fear, about how easy it is to confuse patience with absence. I don't expect anything, Liam said finally. I only needed you to know who I was to you. Emma felt something settle inside her chest. Some loves are not meant to be claimed, but they change us forever. When they stood to leave, she said quietly, Thank you for loving me honestly, even silently. He smiled, and for the first time there was no regret in his eyes. Episode 6, The Peace of Knowing. After the meeting, Emma felt lighter. Not because something had begun, but because something unfinished had finally ended. She returned home with clarity instead of confusion. The letter was no longer heavy. It was complete. She understood now. Love isn't always a story with a future. Sometimes it's a truth that sets you free. Liam returned to his life too. Not with loss, but dignity. He had spoken. He had been seen. And that was enough. They didn't message often. They didn't blur lines. Respect became their language. Some connections are sacred because they remain pure. Episode 7. The Call That Changed Everything. The call came at night. Emma almost didn't answer. Unknown number, unfamiliar code. But something inside her tightened. Emma, the voice said, breathless. It's Liam. Her heart skipped. There's an emergency, he continued. My younger sister, she's in the hospital. They asked for someone who knows her medical history. You do. Emma stood up so fast the chair fell behind her. Years ago, she had helped Liam's family during a difficult time. Organizing documents, translating medical notes, staying calm when everyone else panicked. She hadn't thought about it in years. I'm coming, she said without hesitation. At the hospital, bright lights erased time. Liam looked different, not calm, not controlled, just human. Afraid. They worked together instinctively. She spoke to doctors. He signed papers. No touching, no crossed lines, only purpose. Hours later, his sister was stable. Liam exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. I didn't know who else to call, he said quietly. Emma met his eyes. You called the right person. And in that moment, she realized something unsettling. Some connections don't disappear. They wait, silently, for the moment they are needed again. Episode 8, The Choice That Had No Name. They sat in the hospital corridor as dawn broke. No romance, no closeness. Just two people bound by shared responsibility. I won't misunderstand this, Liam said carefully. I know where we stand. Emma nodded. So do I. But truth has layers. Later that day, Emma received another call, this one from home. A family matter, urgent, demanding her presence. She stood in the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, torn between two worlds. Liam watched her silently. You should go, he said. Your place is there. She swallowed. And yours? She asked. He smiled faintly. Here, where I'm meant to be. They stood facing each other. Not as lovers, not as strangers. As people who had chosen dignity over desire. Emma reached into her bag and handed him the letter. I don't need it anymore, she said. I carry the truth now. He took it, then slowly shook his head. No, he said. This time I let it go. She left. Not with loss, but with strength. Because sometimes the bravest love story is the one where no one betrays who they are. Episode 9, The Truth No One Expected. 2 weeks passed. Emma tried to return to her routine, but something felt unfinished. Not between her and Liam. That chapter was clear. But inside herself, one evening, she received a message from Liam's sister. I hope it's okay that I'm writing. There's something you should know. Emma hesitated, then replied. They spoke briefly, politely, carefully. Then came the truth. You were the reason my brother didn't leave the country, she wrote. He had an offer years ago, a very good one. He turned it down because you were still here. Emma stared at the screen. She had never known. He thought if he stayed, the message continued, life might bring you back into his world naturally. He didn't want to force anything. Emma felt the weight of it. Not guilt, but gravity. This wasn't romantic sacrifice. It was a choice rooted in values. She typed slowly. Thank you for telling me. That night, Emma prayed quietly, not for answers, but for peace. And for the first time, she felt it fully. Some truths arrive not to change our future, but to make sense of our past. Episode 10, The Ending That Stayed. Months later, Emma stood at a train platform waiting. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't hopeful. She was calm. Liam approached with a small bag in his hand. I'm leaving this time, he said gently. The offer came again. She smiled. I know, she replied. It's the right moment. They stood side by side, watching people rush past. No promises, no regret. Before boarding, he turned to her. You changed the way I understand love, he said. Not as something to take, but something to guard. Emma nodded. And you taught me, she answered. That silence can be full, if it's honest. The train arrived. He stepped inside. As it moved away, Emma felt no ache, only gratitude. Some love stories don't stay in our lives. They stay in who we become, and that, she knew, was the most faithful ending of all. This is the end of the story. For more interesting stories, welcome to English Listening Stories channel.